Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Pascack Valley Regional High School Board of Education meeting for August 28th, 2023. During this regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to make comments. In order for a citizen to make the comment, we have to be physically present, but during the first opportunity, comments should be regarding agenda items, and the second opportunity will occur just prior to adjournment, where residents may address general comments to the board. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise and state their name and town of residence. And again, initially limited to agenda items and then general comments. Mr. Usami? Oh, and I just would like to say that Sarah is under the weather today, so we have Mr. Backenheimer here, Dr. Backenheimer here in her place.
Okay, so Mr. Blundo, no? Mrs. Varghese,
Here.
Dr. Blundy,
Here.
Ms. Calderon, Mr. Luisi,
Here.
Mrs. Martin, here. Mr. Stankus,
Here.
Ms. Steffens,
Here.
Mr. Weaver. Okay.
Okay, if we could all stand and do the salute and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by mailing copies of said notice to the record to the municipal clerks of Hillsdale, Montvale, Rivervale, and Woodcliff Lake, and publishing the notice in the record on July 21st, 2023. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we have the oath of office and appointment of our student board representatives.
Olivia, you want to go first?
I, Olivia G., do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people. I, Olivia G., do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of student board member according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
I, Madeline Gibbs, do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people. I, Madeline Gibbs, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all the duties of student board member according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Olivia and Madeline. Okay, next up we have the budget calendar report by Mr. Usami.
Okay. So for the board members, you have this in front of you. It was also distributed previously the other day. But this is the 2024-2025 budget calendar. Yes, we are in budget season already for next year. The budget documents were sent to the administrators and supervisors today. So they will get going. They have an idea. They have this calendar as well, so that gives them an idea of what the timeline is. I just need to go over the timeline with the board. This is a requirement. Annually we do this, and it is a requirement of CUSAC as well. So first off, like I said, on Monday today, and 8/28, I distributed the 2024-2025 budget worksheets to the administrators and supervisors. On Wednesday, November 22nd, the administrators will submit their completed budget worksheets to me, the business administrator. Then the week of December 1st, or December 11th, I'm sorry, the superintendent and the business administrator will begin to review the administrator and supervisor's budget worksheets. And right now it's a TBD, but we'll have a finance committee meeting. It's an overview of the budget process, also preliminary discussion of state aid, projected revenues, and the fiscal 23 audit, if it's not delayed. Hopefully it won't be delayed. It's been delayed a few times in the past few years. So the week of January 8th, we'll meet with the administrators to discuss potential budget revisions. Another TBD, because we'll have another finance committee meeting to discuss the tentative budget. The week of March 11th, the finance committee meeting, if this is we'll have a finance committee meeting to go over the tentative budget, which will also be provided to the entire board as well. On Monday, March 18th, there'll be a public meeting to adopt the 2024-2025 tentative budget and would be submitted to the county office. On Friday, March 22nd, the budget will need to be submitted to the county. That is the deadline, at least at this point. These dates could change. On Friday, April 24th, we'll publish the budget and the notice of public hearing in the record. And on Monday, April 29th, we will have a public hearing to adopt the proposed 2024-2025 school budget. And then the week of May 6th, we will distribute the approved budget to the administrators and supervisors and prepare the 2024-2025 tax requisition payment schedule to the various municipalities, and also the A4F, which certifies our school taxes as well. As I said, this is a tentative schedule at this point, subject to change, as well as there could be additional finance committee meetings to discuss the budget. Any questions? Okay. And hopefully this budget season will be a little bit easier than last year. So.
Thank you, Mr. Usami. Okay, next up, we need a motion to approve the meetings for the July 26th meetings for the regular meeting, the executive meeting, executive session, and the board retreat.
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Usami? Oh, any discussion? Sorry. Any discussion? Okay.
Dr. Blundy,
Abstain.
Mr. Luisi,
Yes.
Mrs. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Stankus,
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes. Okay. Next, we have our presentation by our curriculum department, which we always look forward to and we really appreciate. So I'm going to let Dr. Backenheimer start
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Happy that for a change, we don't have to change our seats while we're doing a presentation, so we can stay seated. I'm joined this evening by several of our supervisors. Dr. Russo, our supervisor of mathematics, Ms. Graziano, our supervisor of science and tech ed, and Ms. Safari, our acting supervisor of world language, ELL, music, and FACS. Ms. Matisich, unfortunately, is unable to be here this evening as supervisor of ELA. I'll be taking over some of her parts. This is our mandated score reporting presentation that we do every fall. The state requires that when we get state results of any state testing, that we do it at the first available board meeting after we receive those results, and this is our first available. It is going to be a little long. We'll do our best to move it through and be thorough at the same time, moving through and give the information you need. Here's the spoiler alert. We went up in almost every category that we possibly could, with a few exceptions, but our scores across the board definitely increased over last year, which we're very pleased about. So to begin, what we're going to report on is our New Jersey Student Learning Assessment, the NJSLA, which is our grade 9 ELA, grade 9 math tests, and our NJ GPA test, which is taken by our juniors. It is a graduation requirement for the seniors, our class of 2024. We're also going to talk about our other standardized assessments student take, such as SAT and our AP program. And we'll also talk about, in general, just some other general graduation pieces, as well as our ELL results. So as many of you are aware, with our standardized testing, many colleges have gone to test optional. The last data I heard was somewhere in the area of 75 to 80% of colleges in our country have gone test optional. That means that they're reliant on other areas. Students, if they want to take the test and submit them, they can. But that also means that perhaps less students are taking it, or at least submitting their scores as sort of their option there. We have done a revamp of our curriculum and trying to add in more SAT, ACT, and New Jersey state testing questions into our math and ELA curriculum for the last 2 years. When it comes to our advanced placement program, as the board might be aware, this past spring was the very first time, or the second year, with our revised board policy where taking the AP test was optional. It used to be mandatory for all students to take. Now, if they take the class, it is their choice if they want to. And as you'll see from our results, we did have a few less students take, but our results across the board were increased. We do offer AP tests in 24 different subjects. And our most popular, at least this past year, was physics and English language composition. So taking a look at our advanced placement scores, if you take a look here for 2023, you will notice that the number of total AP students has declined slightly, not significantly. The number of exams, though, has stayed constant, at least related to the last 2 years, down a little bit from 2021. The one significant thing to note, though, is if you look at the number of AP students compared to those taking, 87% of our students who took the exam scored over a 3, which is a strong increase over the past couple of years from our AP scores. If you look at Hills, similar numbers. From there, 213 students is a raise from the previous year, but in line with where we've been in past years. Number of exams still is increasing, and over 90% of our students who took exams scored over a 3. Big leap over the past couple of years. When it comes to SAT, we do not have our late spring 2023 results yet. So as you know, we always report a year back when we do SATs. Again, if you take a look here, we are certainly, again, on an increased trend slightly, but certainly outperforming significantly the state of New Jersey and the entire country as a whole at both schools, and parity between both schools. If you recall last year, it's a raising trend we see, is that we do see the results from Hills and Valley getting closer and closer all the time, which we want to certainly see as often as we can. When it comes to our SAT verbal mean, again, Hills seeing a 606 average, Valley seeing a 601. Again, parity in those particular areas. The New Jersey GPA exam is a graduation requirement. They had to take it for the class of 2023 or through alternate means, and it is a requirement for the class of 2024. So when the students took it, they knew that it did count. So we're going to take you through some of the results here, and I'll trade off with some people who are it'll work here. So for starters, just looking overall at our results here, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Russo to take us through very quickly the math results.
So again, thank you so much for having me. Just to talk a little bit about the NJ GPA results. similar to what Dr. Backenheimer just shared, there were increases in both buildings, and the two levels of performance got much closer to parity. So that's true both of the NJGPA, and we'll talk about the NJSLA in a moment. But you can see here we have grade 11 math. We are up top, and then the state is underneath. I can't speak as much to ELA, but the ELA numbers are similar in that we overperformed the state.
Yeah, and again, just adding to that, if you look at our total numbers here, if you look at ELA, for example, 96% of our students in district were deemed, quote, graduation ready, compared to 81% in the state average. Again, putting that together, we're pretty pleased with that result. As Dr. Russo shared in math, 83% of our students were deemed graduation ready, the state at 55%. So just to take a look real quick, I'll talk about ELA and Dr. Russo can talk about math. We have to report about different subgroups. If there's less than 10 students in a particular subgroup, that information is redacted due to FERPA regulations, and that might identify certain students. So if we have data over 10 students in a certain group, whether it's by race, by gender, socioeconomic, or by special program. So just to summarize, certainly if you look at our data under ELA, our white students and our Asian students scored the highest out of any subgroup. However, our Hispanic students scored 92% graduation ready, was our only subgroup over 10 students in that particular area. So again, very pleased with our results across the board.
Yeah, and if you take a look at math, which is the blue section in the middle, again, we're always looking for general, success, and then also success by all of our subgroups. So you can see here that our Asian students did particularly well on this assessment, but our white and Hispanic students, didn't do poorly themselves, just not quite at the same level. So again, we're looking for improvement across the board and looking for improvement for each of our subgroups as well.
Reporting out on gender, virtually even as far as males and females at being graduation ready versus non-graduation ready in all subjects. If we look at by programs, this is specifically on the far left is free and reduced lunch. Next over is students who have 504 plans. Third and over is our special education students, and last is general education students. Our special education students scored the lowest compared to general education students, but still higher than previous years by a significant number. To talk about Pascack Hills math, briefly just breaking it down by the different areas, Dr. Russo.
Sure. So this is just another table that's sort of reiterating what the last was saying. So if you look, the first red shaded column is graduation ready this year, as opposed to the first column that's not shaded red. That was graduation ready last year. So you can see across the board, from that first column to the second column, there's improvement in all of these subgroups. So we're certainly moving in the right direction. We're very proud of that.
Absolutely. And ELA, similar number jumps, again, just to take a look at Hills, 63% in 22, 96% in 23. So really just jumps across the board in all areas. Again, progress absolutely in the right direction. Just to reiterate again, Valley, similar pieces, again, 74 to 82 as a total in that area for math, and 58 to 95 in ELA. This test is supposed to talk about graduation ready. It is interesting to note that if you take a look, our graduation rates for the district remain incredibly constant over a period of time. We graduate 99 to over 99% of our district. This typically represents maybe one student in each school who doesn't graduate, either because they withdraw early or there's other extenuating circumstances that might be a part of this. One area just to note is we do track the percentage of students that do go on to college. We currently, as of last year, as a district, 95% of our students are college bound, with 88.4% of them going on to four-year colleges and 6.75% going on to two-year colleges. That number fluctuates year to year. We imagine that it depends upon students' readiness level, also depends upon financial considerations, but overall our numbers do remain fairly steady across the board, as you can tell. So now into getting into NJSLA, this is a test that's given to our ninth graders, and so all students for English Language Arts have to take this exam. You'll see eighth grade listed just because occasionally you will have 8th graders placed into a 9th grade program. We don't in our particular case. So we had 400 students tested. Certainly, if you take a look here, 9th graders were essentially even again between Hills and Valley. And according to this, we had over 80% of our students were rated as, quote, meeting or exceeding expectations. Marginal numbers not meeting expectation. This includes, again, all students, special ed, regular ed, 504, ELL, et cetera. Again, if you could take a look here, the dark green on the right are students who are exceeding, the lighter green is meeting, and the orange is then approaching. So students, again, doing very well, especially compared to last year on our NJSLA English scores, breaking down by the different areas. Again, our Asian and white students outperformed compared to other areas. However, our Hispanic students, at least in this particular area, again, performed significantly better than they did prior years. By gender, we had a small shift in that female students, at least in 9th grade, outperformed male students. Not by significant amounts, but at least certainly in that one darker green area. And then by other subgroups, again, free and reduced lunch, 504, special education, general education. Not surprisingly, general education students outperformed those other groups that were there. In terms of English language arts, Ms. Matishich asked me to share plans to continue our success, include use of the writing lab, high standards, continuing with our vocabulary program and reading comprehension program in all grade levels, focusing on reading programs for stamina and fluency, and then a writing focus, working on method using professional literature, and then varied writing instruction by grade. Dr. Russo can also speak to mathematics quickly.
Sure. And just briefly, the NJSLA tends to be a slightly more difficult test, partially because of its higher cut score. So you will notice that just in terms of, quote, sort of successfully passing this assessment, if you look at 4s and 5s, the numbers are a little bit lower than NJGPA, but still better than we've done in the past, and we're getting closer to parity than we've been in some time. But you'll notice here our geometry students, who are students that are accelerated, tend to do a little bit better, and as expected, than students in Algebra 1. But what I'm particularly proud of, even as our numbers of 4s and 5s are going up and our percentages are going up, we still have that largest chunk of students that are just on the cusp, students that get that level 3, which is just below the 4. So here you can see, again, the difference between algebra, geometry, and then math, just to reiterate my last point. Again, breaking it down by subgroup, the patterns are similar with NJSLA and NJGPA, both in terms of racial ethnic subgroups and in terms of classification for general education students or special education students. We're constantly trying to support all of our students, but we do recognize that on this particular assessment, students with IEPs struggle a little bit more. That is something that we're aware of and we continue to work on. So again, this is the racial groups. The difference between sex is pretty close between males and females, at least on the math NJSLA. And then this is what I was mentioning before, specifically about students with IEPs. In terms of plans moving forward, we've been implementing these plans, and we found them to be successful. We're going to continue doing so. So just attending to our assessments, making sure we're using high leverage research-based teaching strategies. The high standards, high support is a big part of what we do in the mathematics department, and then giving students feedback that is targeted and meaningful and is actionable. This last point, I'm very pleased that this was approved by the Board of Education and supported in our budget. We're going to continue to have a math center this year to provide additional support for students, in addition to teachers' extra help. And then just one comment I want to say briefly. I'm very proud of how hard our teachers worked and our students work, how hard they always work, but particularly this last year in getting these scores up. It's one of the many things that we try and do, but we certainly see the fruit of those labors, and I just wanted to give a big thank you, certainly to the teachers for all the work they do.
Now we'll have Ms. Graziano speak to NJSLA Science.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. So the NJSLA Science exam is a cumulative exam given to all of our 11th grade students. This test covers all high school life science, physical science, and earth and space science standards. It does not count as a requirement for graduation. So across the district, 16% of our students achieved advanced levels, with 31% of our students achieving proficient levels. 33% attained a limited level of achievement, and 20% earned a minimal level of achievement. When analyzing our subgroups by race, our Asian students outperformed our other students, achieving 76% at or above proficient, followed by our white students with a 46% scoring at or above proficient, and our Hispanic students did score the lowest with 28% scoring at or above proficient. And that's what we can see here. When analyzing the results by gender, we do see that our male students only slightly outperformed our female students, with 49% scoring at or above proficient compared to 43% for females. When comparing the achievement of students by program subgroups, we see no difference in the achievement between our general education and Section 504 students. Both groups had a 53% of students scoring at or above proficient, while our special education students did score the lowest with a 19% scoring at or above proficient, which actually is slightly higher than our scores last year. When comparing the results between the two schools, Hills did have 53% of their students scoring proficient or above, while Valley had 42%. So moving forward, we are going to be continuing to focus on our assessments in a variety of ways. We want to make sure that as we continue to get more detailed data back from the state on this assessment, for example, we actually haven't gotten the state averages for this assessment just yet. We haven't gotten a detailed breakdown to see how we did for our life science compared to earth and space science and physical science. So once we get more detailed information, my team of teachers and I will be delving into it to really try to identify specific areas of focus where we can continue to support our students. We are going to work on helping develop more assessments that are going to be given within the classroom that will better mirror those given by the state. So we are going to be spending a lot of time analyzing the sample questions given to us by the state, looking at past questions, and then working to develop our assessments so that students are more familiar with that style of question. One other new thing that we are very excited about is we're going to actually be utilizing the Linkit benchmarks. The math department has been utilizing Linkit benchmarks, and they have actually been designed to essentially mirror the NJSLA. And so our students in biology, chemistry, and physics will each be taking 3 benchmarks throughout the year, and it's going to be able to give us really good detailed data on the standards, on the practices, and the cross-cutting concepts, which is then going to help really guide our teachers' instruction for our students. We are also going to continue to give targeted, meaningful feedback and provide more opportunities to make sure that the students have a chance to digest that information and then implement it to continue growing. And of course, as always, we're going to continue with our focus on inquiry and lab-based science classes. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Graziano. And just to add in one additional point to it, we haven't given this test a great amount of time. We haven't gotten a lot of details back, and this combines all 3 subjects into students taking a junior year. So, it's an area that is still a due notice test. It is not a graduation requirement. And so with that, I'm pleased with the progress that we're making, and I anticipate that we will continue to have improvement as we go into next year. To complete our testing report, we're going to have Ms. Safari share about our multi-language learner testing data that we're required to report about as well.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. We have a small but very mighty group of ELL or multilingual learners in our district. They bring a variety of experiences, very powerful voices. We're really excited to have them here because of the cultural variety that they bring into our district. And we're very proud of them. This particular test that they have to take at the end of every year is not a graduation requirement. We just basically tests their ability to speak, to write, to do presentations in English, so that we can help them and support them in any way possible to move forward. We have 14 students this year who took the test, and 7 of them were from Pascack Hills and 7 from Pascack Valley. And there's a breakdown into 1 sophomore, 2 juniors, 4 seniors from Pascack Hills, so no freshmen this year, And there were 1 freshman, 4 sophomores, 1 junior, 1 senior from Pascack Valley. The requirement to graduate or actually to exit the program is the score of 4.5 in each of the categories. Some of the students tested as high as 6 or 7 even in one of the categories, and then the other category might have been lower, so which brought the average lower. But this is in no way an indication of their intelligence or it's just simply telling that they speak another language and perhaps more than one, and English is not their first language. What we look at is we look at how much they've grown in a particular year that they've come to us. Also take into consideration the fact that some of the students come half a year and others, even if there's a senior here, it might have been a student who perhaps moved here from another country half a year. For example, this year we have 2 students who came from Ukraine. They are in Pascack Hills, and there's 1 student who came from Ukraine basically a month before she had to take this test. And so that obviously affects the scores. What we are very proud of is that the students thrive in our district, and they really experience wonderful, wonderful instruction from our teachers, both at Valley and Hills. And I have to say, I'm very proud when I walk into their classrooms. One thing that I can say is there is a community there, and there is a lot of support that you see. The students feel absolutely supported. They get all the resources they need. Our district is really, really lucky. We are lucky to provide this opportunities to these students. So just to give you a little bit of more background on the test is that it measures the listening, speaking, reading, and writing abilities. But it's not just one section. There is a combination of, for example, oral language is combining listening and speaking. And then the literacy, which combines reading and writing, etc. So it is not an easy test to take, especially for someone who has just moved into this country. So they've done a really, really good job, and what we have in our curriculum is the combination of not only teaching the language, but more importantly, the culture. Because you may speak the language, but you may not be able sometimes to even understand the idioms or some of the things that, and so the goal is for the students to actually immerse in the culture and understand the culture without losing their own culture. So it's a very unique situation, and which is why we're very proud to have this students, because they bring this other culture into our district and make it better, and they enhance our learning experiences. And so there are more, if...
I just pulled the identifiable one.
Oh, absolutely.
Move through those.
Yes.
So. Yeah, so again, just to reiterate Ms. Safari's point, we don't have a lot of ELL students, but we do have strong supports for them and having them move through the program. And when you look at our graduation rates, those students are considered part of those numbers. So certainly we are able to provide services for them. So we certainly appreciate that. Just to kind of pull together in terms of interventions and areas that we use in all of our classes, you can see listed here a number of things that we've done since 2021 for the last 2 years. The ones that have the red asterisk are either funded by the ESEA grant or the ESSER grant, which is from the past 2 years. Things like we had summer support classes in prior years. We still run our college application boot camp, our multi-tiered systems of support for Tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions, counseling through our wellness center and guidance program, the ELL programs that Ms. Safari mentioned, including our summer programs that we have and bilingual parent support programs, our mental health wellness programs for all of these students, and then obviously, as we shared, you heard from all of our supervisors, an integration of these types of questions into all the department assessments. So again, across the board, really just a strong improvement over last year with a lot of our programs really starting to see fruition, but we're still not satisfied. We're going to keep trying to see if we can make this better and continue to raise our scores as well. Questions that myself or the supervisors can answer for the board?
I just want to actually thank the teachers and the administration for all the hard work. I know this doesn't just come, so there's a lot that goes behind the success that our students are finding, and I appreciate the thoughtful planning and the targeted feedback that they're looking for, and I'm happy that the kids are using those writing and math centers and that you guys are still encouraging them to come to you, so we appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Russo. Thank you, Ms. Graziano. Thank you, Ms. Safari. Appreciate you taking time out every evening to be with us.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next we have comments from the public. Citizens are invited to make comments regarding agenda items and are limited to 3 items. 3 minutes. If you could please rise, be recognized, sign in, state your name, town of residence, and which agenda item you are referencing. So is there anyone that would like to speak about agenda items? Just we can read it. Okay. So we see how excited you girls are here to be here. So what we're going to do, we're going to change it up a little bit. So we are going to let anyone speak on agenda items that are not on the agenda. So if there's any general items, please rise, state your name and what town you're from, and what you're representing, and go ahead and speak.
Hi, my name's Olivia Matisich. I'm from Hillsdale.
And my name's Abby Fox. I'm also from Hillsdale.
We're going to be speaking on the dance team budget. We stand before you today as seniors and proud members of the Pascack Regional Dance Team. It is an honor to have the opportunity to address this distinguished board and share a matter close to our hearts.
For 3 decades, our dance team has been a symbol of dedication, winning over 22 national championship titles along the way. These victories have not only brought honor to our school, but have also showcased our commitment to excellence.
Our team has never backed away from hard work. Through fundraising efforts and the generous contributions of our parents, we have managed to support our program and keep our passion alive. However, the financial burden of buying new uniforms places a strain on both our members and their families. We believe that your support can remove this burden and enable us to maintain the highest standards we have set for ourselves. This is the first time in 30 years that we are asking the board for your assistance with uniforms.
We'd like to take a moment to highlight the creativity and dedication of our coaches. They have tirelessly worked to recycle and boost our existing uniforms to make sure that we stay aligned with the trends and expectations of the competitive dance world. However, there is only so much they can do to breathe new life into our aging outfits. Uniforms may seem like simple attire, but they hold the power to transform our performances. When we step onto the stage, our uniforms become an extension of ourselves.
It's important to note that our commitment to giving back extends beyond the dance floor. A portion of the funds we raise is donated to Autism Speaks, a cause that holds deep personal meaning for us.
We stand before you today not only to appeal for financial assistance, but also to express our unwavering gratitude for the opportunities and support the district has provided us over the years. Our dance team stands as a testament to what we can be achieved when a community unites in pursuit of a common goal. By assisting us with funding for new uniforms, you're not only investing in our team's success, but also contributing to a broader community.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, girls. I would like to say that you guys are very impressive. You guys our dance team is an award-winning dance team, and you're a vital part of our district. So we definitely value you a lot, and we really, really appreciate. I have to say, I think having students come and speak is one of the best things ever, because it shows that you're invested and interested in your learning and your growth. And so I really appreciate you coming up here and speaking. My understanding is that the athletic director is going to be in contact with Dina, with Coach Noon. So we've heard what you've had to say, and we really do appreciate it. So we'll do our best to work this out. Okay?
Thank you.
I also want to say how proud I am of you girls on so many different levels, and I really do appreciate you girls being here tonight. Keep it up.
Anyone else? Anyone else with comment? Okay. I could torture you guys and say, you don't leave. But yes, if you really, we would totally understand if you want to leave and not stay for the whole entire meeting. It is very exciting. You're missing a lot, but it's okay. You can leave. Go ahead. Oh, sure, you can ask questions. Sorry.
And again, I apologize if this has been shared before, but is there a way to get a breakdown of each sport and how often new uniforms or the budget is for each sport? Like, are some sports getting once a year, are some sports getting every 5 years or whatnot? Is there a way that we could get a printout of each sport and
I'm sure we can get it from Jill
Okay.
Spafford,
Great.
from the athletic director, and that's a good point. We want to be equitable
Yes.
amongst all the sports, male, female, everything. I think we try to really be an equitable district, and our board here, the people that we have comprised here, really, that's important to us. So that's a good point. So I think that is something to definitely think about.
Great. Thank you.
Now you can leave. Thanks again, girls.
Bye, Mom.
And moms. Okay. Our next item on the agenda is for policy, and we have 2 consent agenda items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please, Mr. Usami.
Dr. Blundy,
Yes.
Mrs. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Stankus,
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes. Okay, next we have education, under which we have 5 consent agenda items. And do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay?
Okay. So I'm looking at this curriculum. I've brought this up in the past, but if we kind of go through here and we look at all the English classes, and then we look at the art, and we go down to mathematics and social studies, and blah, 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 and then we get to health and physical education. And, it's obviously I'm biased because health and wellness is very near and dear to me, and I see it. I see it in my office. I see it on a daily basis, and it's lacking. And I just wanted to bring up something. This was from the U.S. It's a U.S. report card on physical activity for children and youth. And while every one of these subjects are incredibly important, we all know that our health is what really dictates how well we're able to use that information. So in 2022, the report card, overall physical activity was given a D-. Active transportation was given a D-. Organized sports participation, a C. Sedentary behaviors, a D. Sleep, a C+. Physical fitness, a C-. School, a D-. Community and built environment, a C. So I just want to say that I think that we need to, given, how much is put into these other subjects, which are incredibly important, I cannot stress enough the effects that we are seeing by these courses not being as substantial as they could be, which is going to affect everybody for the rest of their life. So I just highly encourage the board and the school to put a little bit more support towards that. It will not be a bad move. I can promise you that.
Dr. Backenheimer, just a question on that. The health and physical ed, I know that there's districts, and they might be more of the magnet type schools, where they have like options where the kids could take dance, or instead of just like having phys ed for freshmen, phys ed. Is that something that's likely to ever happen?
So the curriculums here that we're approving, this is our annual reapproval of all the curricula. So the health and phys ed curriculum that's here is the same one that was written 2 years ago, and this is our 3rd year now of implementation with it. The phys ed program prior to the pandemic was in the process of implementing more of a choice program. They were trying to get different things, kids to have choice of different things they could do, and then the pandemic completely upended it. We are starting our new PLC work within our phys ed department that actually has a kickoff meeting tomorrow. And one of the areas that actually is it's called Innovation in Health and Physical Education. So are being led by our 2 supervisors of health and phys ed, and a great many of our phys ed teachers are a part of that. We're looking to bring back as much choice as possible and looking to enhance our offerings.
Great. Thank you.
You're always a step ahead.
Now roll call?
Dr. Blundy,
Yes.
Mrs. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Stankus,
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes. Okay, under Human Resources, we have 25 agenda items. The 23, 24, and 25 is on the supplemental page. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Mr. Usami, can roll call, please?
Dr. Blundy,
Yes.
Mrs. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Stankus,
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes. Okay, under Finance, we have 28 consent agenda items, along with the supplemental number 28. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, Mr. Usami, please.
Dr. Blundy,
Yes.
Mrs. Martin,
Yes.
Mr. Stankus,
Yes.
Ms. Steffens,
Yes.
Mrs. Varghese.
Yes. Okay, any old business?
This could be either old or new, however, because I know I mentioned it in the briefing. But school board's workshop is coming up October 23rd through 26th. If you're interested in attending, please let me know as soon as possible. I need to get the hotel information in if you plan on staying overnight. I need to get that in basically by the second week of September. So if you don't need any kind of hotel lodging, then I could wait probably to the end of the month if you're going to attend, so I could put you down into registration. I sent in the Friday briefing a link to school board's website, which has the schedule. So if you're interested and you want to peruse and see what's being offered, please go ahead. If you don't use that link, you can just go to school boards and start clicking away and see what the schedule looks like. But please let me know as soon as possible. If you don't let me know, then I'm going to close it off and you won't be going. But if you are interested, please let me know as soon as possible. Thank you.
Any new business? Okay, we have our next comments from the public. This is where citizens can make general comments, again, limited to 3 minutes. Please rise, sign in, state your name and town of residence. Any general, non-agenda consent item, comment items? Okay, none? Okay, so that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Roll call, Mr. Usami?
Dr. Blundy? Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mr. Stankus?
Yes.
Ms. Steffens?
Yes.
And Mrs. Varghese?
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. And to all the students, good luck starting in your next year, okay?
You're welcome.